Now, ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa and the ANC National Working Committee, they are visiting the ANC structures in Gauteng. Now, the visit forms part of the governing party's overall program to assess the state of the ANC, including the implementation of the renewal program. Now, to talk more about this, we are joined by political analyst Dr Sam Koma. Thank you so much, Dr Koma, for joining me this evening. Always good to have you with us. So I think a way to start with what the president said today, but let's start with the renewal. We keep on hearing about the renewal process of the ANC, of course, very important for the ANC going into 2024. Would you say that the ANC, looking at it now, has renewed itself? And would you say that factionalism within the party has become something of the past?
Well, thanks, Brian, for the opportunity. No, so the renewal of the ANC remains work in progress. They cannot claim that they have perfected the issue of ensuring that the ANC is properly renewed in terms of fulfilling its founding values and also uniting the people of South Africa, but also uniting itself in terms of the various formations that are also aligned to the ANC. But they've initiated major steps and interventions. For example, if you refer to the step-aside rule, we know now that it's affirmed, it's a policy position, because in their last national conference in Nasrec last December, this matter was put to rest. So it's now a policy position of the ANC, but also I think where they are also struggling is in the area of leadership. Do they have leadership that is fit for purpose in terms of executing the strategic tasks and objectives of the governing party? In this instance, I'm referring to those who are deployed in the various executive positions at the cabinet level, in the provincial cabinets, for example, and also in the municipal councils, either at the level of mayors and also at the level of speakers, chief whips, but very important, those who are appointed as senior managers or senior executives in all the organs of state, including the state-owned companies at the level of the executive and also at the board. So, and also the ANC president did concede before the Zondo Commission that the issue of cadre deployment was a massive system failure that also led to state capture. So these are some of the sort of issues that they still have to deal with decisively. They're still grappling with some of these issues because the empirical evidence is there. All of us, we can observe that we have a state that is not fully competent in driving the necessary reforms and also in terms of fulfilling the expectations of ordinary citizens, either in terms of issues related to crime or issues of energy security, for example, and also other crucial basic needs that the citizens expect the state to deliver.
And of course, you know, I want to talk about, you know, his specific visit today, the NEC and President Ramaphosa's visit to Gauteng. And then I want to touch base on the energy crisis as well. But let's talk about Gauteng. How important is it for the president, you know, this visit, especially leading up to 2024? We know that the Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng, you know, those are ANC strongholds, not so much Gauteng anymore. So how important is this visit, you know, him talking to and discussing, you know, policies and the way forward going into 2024?
Yes, so the ANC president's visit to Gauteng today is very crucial in political terms, in the sense that if you look at the 2019 national elections, those elections delivered 53% for the ANC in the Gauteng province. So effectively, it means that the ANC is in a precarious and vulnerable electoral position in the Gauteng province. Plus the fact that this time around, the ANC is not governing any of the three metros in Gauteng. Unlike in 2019, at least, they were governing the city of Ekurhuleni. This time around, they are not governing any of those metros, and that is the reason They are now looking at, one, to ensure that the election machine of the ANC is well oiled, and also they've done that by reviving all the leagues of the ANC, namely the Youth League, the Women's League, and the Veterans League, as part of galvanizing their electoral base. So that is part of their strategy to say, let's focus on the Gauteng province, but let's look at areas where we can get quick wins as part of reigniting our support base, but also ensuring that those who are despondent about the ANC, but their support base, they're able to reach out to them, and they're very good at that in terms of doing their door-to-door campaigns, for example, and other electoral strategies.
I want to touch base on what you just mentioned, the coalitions. We've seen in recent politics, of course, multi-party collaborations. And when it was discussed, the multi-party charter was discussed, the president basically dismissed it. He said, this is not something the ANC has to worry about. They can have their conferences and they can go ahead with whatever plans they have. Do you think that was just him saying that to basically say, we're not really worried about this, but in actual fact, behind closed doors, they are actually concerned about this multi-party charter?
Yes, they are concerned. So my sense is that all these 8 political parties that were party to the signatory of the multi-party convention, the least they can do come 2024 national elections is to take the ANC from the 57% to 52 to 50%. I mean, if we're to be realistic, but I know that the popular view out there is that the ANC is likely to garner just above 40% of the electoral outcome. But I don't think that is realistic, given the data that we have, and also the fact that the ANC has the benefit and advantage of being an incumbency relative to the rest of the other political parties. So they can use this advantage, for example, next year, in terms of coming up with policies that resonate with the working class, those who are unemployed, the poor. For example, they can decide to introduce the basic income grant, and also to further ramp up the provisioning of the social grants, for example, and come up with other policy interventions as part of retaining their electoral base, and also to ensure that they prepare for the national elections come 2024. So the current opposition parties, also the other reality is that they are faced with the prospect of independent candidates coming into the picture and possibly dislodging some of these political parties. They are not talking about that, but that is the threat that faces all the political parties that are serving in the opposition benches.
Very interesting.
The emergence of the independent candidates.
We don't have a lot of time, so I think I just want to lastly, ask you, of course, you mentioned some of these factors that will come into play for the ANC in order for them to gain, voters' confidence back, or gain trust in voters back. The energy crisis, of course, will be crucial here. We heard the president saying that come 2024, next year, the energy crisis will be something of the past. Is just another political game basically being played here, or is this a realistic goal? And is this basically to gain voter support in come 2024?
Yes, but just to elaborate on this. So if you refer to the latest IMF report, it projects economic growth of 2% for the country. But there's a caveat. It says if Eskom and Transnet are fixed. So there's no way the government cannot tackle this energy security crisis effectively, because it has a domino effect in terms of addressing issues of unemployment, poverty, inequality, and also ensuring that the state is able to demonstrate that it has improved its capabilities across all levels to ensure that it caters for the needs and expectations of the broader society. But also the other issue is that the ANC must walk the talk in terms of the issue of ensuring that they make appointments that are merit-based, and thus effectively pronouncing the end of cadre deployment. in respect to appointments of senior managers, excluding, of course, those who are public representatives who are normally deployed in Parliament, the provincial legislatures, and also the municipal councils.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sam Koma, just giving us his opinion on what the President had to say today. Of course, the ANC NWC and the President visiting Gauteng. Very important for them to visit this province heading into the 2024 elections. They need the support of Gauteng and, of course, the other strongholds, which is KwaZulu-Natal and the Eastern Cape. But Gauteng, definitely a big focus, as we see that coalition politics already showed on municipal level that, you know, it is a big factor to take into consideration going into 2024, and the ANC definitely needs its support here in Gauteng if they are to avoid something like coalitions.